Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Munibah Khan and you're watching Duroos-Ul-Qur'an.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
That is, I seek refuge from the whispers and evils of the accursed Satan in Allah, so that Allah may protect me from his whispers and evils. The fact is that Satan's provocations, conspiracies, mischiefs, and whispers work in such a stealthy way that humans cannot avoid them. Therefore, there is no other option but to seek refuge in Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ used to wake up at night and stand up for the tahajjud prayer. He ﷺ would then say, Allahu Akbar, Allah is the greatest. And after acknowledging, confessing, expressing and declaring the greatness of Allah, he ﷺ would supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, saying, A'udhu billahi as-sami'il alim min ash-shaytanir rajim min hamzihi wa nafthihi wa nafthihi. Meaning, I seek refuge in Allah, all-hearing and all-knowing, from the accursed devil, from his evil suggestion, that is hams, his puffing up, that's nafkh, and his spitting, nafth. This is mentioned in Sunan Tirmidhi, hadith number 242. It is stated in the Qur'an, فَإِذَا قَرَأْتَ الْقُرْآنَ فَاسْتَعِذْ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ, which means, so when you recite the Qur'an, seek refuge with Allah from the accursed Satan. That means ta'awuz, saying A'udhu Billah, is a manner of the recitation of the Qur'an, which Allah has commanded. Before starting the recitation, the instructions and command to recite A'udhu Billah and seek refuge in Allah have been given because Satan wants that. There are three things which Satan wants, third one of which is the most important. First one, no one should read the Qur'an. Alright, second one, if someone is willing to read and recite, he tries that the reader should not recite it consciously and purposefully. Okay, that the reader should not recite it consciously and purposefully. Third one, and if the reader does not stop to understand and ponder, then the Satan tries that he should not recite it to seek guidance, but to find faults in it, not to follow the Qur'an, but to use it in favor of his thoughts and ideas. Therefore, to ward off and be safe from Satan's tricks, conspiracies, mischiefs, provocations, and temptations, it is necessary to consciously recite A'udhu Billah before beginning the recitation and seek refuge in Allah. Because Satan wants a person not to recite, and if he reads, he should only recite Nazira, which we commonly know, and we put our children there just to do the Nazira, reading without understanding and not pay attention to its meaning and interpretations. He wants humans to recite the Qur'an not to seek guidance but to find faults in it, not to adapt the Quranic ideology but to prove his viewpoint from the Qur'an. Satan wants that the reader should not read it to make his life better, but to make the Qur'an stand against the Qur'an, to separate the Qur'an from the Sunnah, to limit the Qur'an to khanaqah, that is monasteries, mosques and madrasas. He wants humans to read the Qur'an to keep it away from politics, civilization and collectivism. Therefore, before starting the recitation and study of the Qur'an, it is necessary to seek refuge in Allah consciously. So we are commanded to read A'udhu Billah. Now, we'll come to the second part of the beginning of the Qur'an, that is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That is, I begin with the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. In view of His mercy and compassion, I beg Him to help me with the barakat, that is blessings of His name. Bless me in the work that I'm starting with, your name, and help me as your mercy is widespread and by your bounty all creatures benefit. Therefore, except for Surah Tawbah, Allah Almighty has instructed us to start all the surahs with Bismillah and act accordingly. In this way, Allah Almighty has taught us to begin with His name and seek His help and support to benefit from the recitation of the Quran, its understanding, thought and guidance. Similarly, Allah has drawn attention to Tawheed, monotheism, and has refuted shirk, that is polytheism, because the polytheists used to start their deeds in the name of their idols. Likewise, Allah Almighty has also taught us to start all the good deeds in the name of Allah. Therefore, the Holy Prophet ﷺ said that if a good deed does not begin in the name of Allah, then it remains defective. There are several benefits to reciting in the name of Allah, some of which are like, in his efforts to recite and understand the Quran, the reader will keep the will of Allah in mind. That's very important. Second one, he will use sincerity, divinity and selflessness in the recitation and keep away from hypocrisy and show off. Third one is in the name of Allah, seeking Allah's pleasure and reciting with sincerity will invite Allah's help and trust. Fourth, which is really important, Allah will shower him with his blessings and mercies, and the doors of understanding the Quran will open on him, inshallah. May Allah make us from those. Before teaching the Quran or reading from a written lesson, make sure to follow the etiquette of recitation properly. Rectify the intention, very important. Seeking guidance from the Book of Allah and guiding others should be the primary focus. Maintaining the tahara, that is purification, is essential. There is goodness and barakat in the recitation with wudu, that is ablution, which remains absent without wudu. Recite the verses after A'udhu Billah and Bismillah with proper makhraj, right? And also take care of pronunciation. Then read the translation and interpretation. That should be the basics of the Quran. Stay tuned. Jazakallahu khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.